Hello everyone. I'm going to start a new series. Rather than doing a weekly chart review, I'm just going to be picking one pair and I'm going to do a deep dive into it. Alright, so for this week I'm picking CAD JPY. And the reason for that is because the yen is really not having any information that will really determine what's going on in the market for the next 2 weeks. And the Canadian dollar is raising its interest rates as of Tuesday, I believe, by 0.5%. So what that will mean, it'll make the currency stronger in the short term for sure. And against JPY, it will be a very strong potential move to make. All right, the last one that we had was June 1st. And as you see, June 1st was right around here. Okay, I'll just draw a little arrow here. If the arrow actually clicked. All right, so let's try that again. June 1st. Here. All right. So in anticipation for that, you could already see this climbing. And once it bounced off that white EMA line, which was the 233, right? So we're just going to double check to make sure that is exactly what it is. 233, there we are. So once it bounced off that 233, not only once, but twice, right? It hovered around that area and just didn't want to press lower. So once that happened and it started coming up, we had an EMA switch on the 4-hour with the yellow and the red, right? The 5 and the 13, and crossed the 55 EMA moving up. So it's a very good sign that this is going to be switching more for the short term, and it's going to be going up pretty strong until it has a reversal. And now check it out, right? What we'll do is how far it pulled back. Let's take a look, right? So the last lowest point that we have here before the climb is there, right? Here's our highest point. How lovely is that, right? It just touched the 618 before it started to reverse upwards. So now what we're going to be looking for is a continuation play. All right, because right now this is what's happening. Okay, we can set up a ray. It goes from this highest point to the second highest right here, right? So we can see that it is, I'll just set it up a little bit better. There we go. All right. And now to give you an example, I'm not going to go from lowest to highest, because the white EMA line here actually is much more important. So what I'm going to do is actually connect the first time that it crosses here, right? You see this area right there, the first time it crosses, to right here, that's 618. And it becomes extremely important for seeing what's going to be happening in the next little while, okay? So we had the 618, we had the move upwards, but it didn't make a new high, but it also didn't make a new low. So that causes for a flag pattern. And now what we're expecting is a continuation upwards, right? So this is what happens during flag patterns and then the breakthrough. Okay, now it could happen right here. It could go down one more time. So this is where strong technical analysis will come into play. All right, so now I'm going to clear off the chart because I already know what's happening well, maybe not clear it off. I'll just get rid of that and that. We don't need the fib. We can still use those line patterns right now. And as of July, I want to say 12th, that's when it's going to go up. So let's set the mark. July 12th, around here. All right. So we should figure out where a good potential entry is going to be in order for this to go higher. Now, as you see, it's already started to climb slowly over the last 48 trading hours, basically. So everything's been kind of climbing since this low, right? And since July 5th at close to midnight when that closed. And then it kept climbing, right? So we have, let's see, the close there to where it's at right now. In about 2 days, it's climbed 189 pips. So now what I'm going to try and take a look for is where it could possibly be reversing from. I doubt it's going to hit this white line again, but if it does, it's going to be slightly higher. All right, since I don't see anything on the 4-hour right now for it to continue going up, let's switch over to the 1-hour. And this will be something that happened recently. It's not going to be something that gets pulled back from, weeks and weeks ago, because it hasn't been up this high. But there are no candle patterns that I can see that would validate an entry off of. So what we're going to do is do the volume strategy. Okay, we're going to take the fixed range volume profile, and we're going to draw it up from the bottom right here to basically the last little peak it formed before it dropped again. So we're going to see where the volume is hitting. All right, so this entire time, this is where the volume has been based off of. Now the issue is that this drop has already kind of happened, right? So if we take that and we draw it off of our POC, or point of control, and delete that, right? And as you remember what I did, I drew it off to just about that area. Okay, so what that would tell me is that this drop right here already bounced off the POC and went higher, right? And this candle pattern right here is a good example of it coming close to there and then rejecting off it. So right now, there isn't a perfect entry to take off this current pair. It would just be jumping in for a continuation and having a significant stop loss set, right? We already had the cross happen right here where everything kind of shot up above the pink. It is possible we're going to have another rejection, but just to take a look, we can use the fib retracement tool, right? So from the high to the low right here, we had a deep retracement of 886 before it dropped one more time. And then we can see right here going to the bottom, and right now we just wicked off that 886 now. It is definitely possible that we can drop once more, but I do not believe we're going to make a newer low. So yeah, entry for this is going to be quite complicated. It would have been good to get in there at Thursday or Friday, right, where we saw this POC. This would have been a very strong entry zone around that, right, with minimum being, let's see, yeah, 45 pip, 50 pip stop loss would have been very reasonable. Yeah, unfortunately, that has come and gone, but there is still a very good chance that because it hasn't broken through yet, as you see currently, red candle is forming on the 4-hour. We can switch to the 1 and see what's happening. It's kind of lulled right there. Taking a little bit of a pause before possibly going down, correcting, moving upwards again. So you know what? CAD JPY, still a very strong potential trade, but as far as it goes right now in the short term, let's see this current rise. We're going to go right here where it actually dropped to the point that it bounced off again, right here. Let's see where the POC is concentrated, so slightly above. Okay. Now let's do this entire set from low to the high point right here. Where is it going to? Yeah, still the same area. So there is no point of control here that's formed. We can do a very short-term one, and it's just going to be in this area. So it is very possible that it could do a pullback just to come down here and then go higher. But I don't see this dropping back down to this area. So if anything, to be taking a trade from where it's at right now, I would take a long position possibly here. The lowest point I would say would be white. If it crosses the white EMA here, I'd be out, and 30 pips is very reasonable. Right? Short-term trade, I would say to this area here, so it's a 2.8 ratio, but this is definitely going to go higher once the interest rates increase and the yen has no... Oh, sorry, there's a train coming. Give me a sec. All right. So this is definitely possible that this is going to climb over the short term, possibly about 200 to 300 pips. Let's say 300 pips, right, for a nice 10 to 1 gain almost. Okay. That's kind of what I predict would be happening off of this currency pair. Because there is no candle structure for it to bounce off of, I'm going off EMA entries here. So I'm pretty much hoping at this point, it's not a guaranteed trade strategy, right? But I'm going from this low to this high, very strong potential that it could even get down to the 618, but I don't think so, just because this is within the hour candle patterns, and it's already moving, right? Like typically when you see, I'll switch it to the 4 hour just to give you an example. When you see the moves happening already, like it was in June 1st, right here, right, you can see already that the moves happened a couple days beforehand, right? And on the day of, it was just kind of a big spike and then it continued. So very likely we're going to be seeing something similar, and this could have already left the station. It's possible it won't even make its way back, right? So just because of that, I'm going to look for one more pair, and I would say Euro CAD would be another strong contender. But the issue is that this is already taken off maybe a week and a half ago. All right. This is what the trade was aiming for, way over here, because I was kind of counting on a pullback in order for it to drop lower. Okay, so you know what? Let's analyze EuroCAD, because it's a very strong potential for it to actually drop or pull back first and then keep dropping, right? What we could see happen is that pullback that we saw on CAD JPY, the pullback that happened here, and I'll just draw it out, where it kind of kept going, and then right here, and then it pulled back to the 618, and then started consolidating, and it's going to start breaking out again, right? We could see something very similar happen to EuroCAD, where this kept going, and then it's going to have a pullback and then drop once more, right? Now, based off of Fibonacci, right, just grabbing from this last highest point down to the lowest one that we have here, it's a very good sign, that it could potentially be there, right off of that to drop. But this is a much steeper drop than CAD JPY has been. So it is much more likely that if it pulls back, it's not going to be that high. It might just hit that 50%, or maybe just 318 and keep going down. Euro is incredibly weak, but 50% seems rather reasonable. That's been an area of support over the last few weeks, months even, like since the end of April. And then it finally broke through, so there's always a strong chance for this to pull back exactly like this before going down lower, right? And typically it'll pull back maybe just the tips of where the support used to be and then keep dropping. So potentially the entry would be better off there, just under that 50% line. And yeah, so as for the two, I was really only going to do one, but CAD JPY unfortunately just took off before I was able to get to the chart reads. If I just did this one day earlier, who knows what could have happened, but probably not a whole lot. Like, it's just been, within today, it's just been 3 candles that went up. This would have been the move to look for, and that was about Thursday that it happened. All right. Well, I hope that helps. Those are my 2 picks for the week. Let's see them play out. Thanks again. See you next time.